Welcome to Confessions of Inappropriate Yoga Teachers.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Mona.
And in this podcast, we boldly explore the universe through conversations about yoga in a down-to-earth way.
Hoping to bring the light back into enlightenment.
The care in scare-y.
And the fun back in dysfunction.
We do have a disclaimer. Our version of down-to-earth likely includes swearing. So if you're offended by this, then you might decide to bail on this podcast right now.
That said, no platypi were harmed in the filming, the production, the writing, the conception, or any part of the creation or unfolding of this podcast.
Yay, us!
All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to Confessions of Inappropriate Yoga Teachers. I'm Mona, and I'm so excited in this particular cast to interview my partner in crime, Josh. Hello, Josh.
Hello, Mona.
All right. So we're going to start this interview with the beginning of beginning questions. Right. Who are you, Josh?
Who am I? I think there's a song, isn't it? The Who does that. Who are you? Ooh, 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 ooh.
It's the theme song on CSI.
There we go. Perfect. Well, you guys, before we start, I am coming off of a sinus infection all last week, so I'm probably going to be coughy and snorty and sniffly and gross the whole time. Yay. So I have very, very white voice today, which is awesome. So who am I? My name is Josh McGurk, and I'm in Denver, Colorado. It's very funny when you were talking about this, I was like, ooh, let me think about that. What am I? I am a Renaissance singer. I have a lot of musical background. I've also been on stage a lot. So I did a lot of theater stuff in high school and in college. And beyond that, I've sung in lots of places, right? And then I went to school for science because I wanted to be a marine biologist. I wanted to study dolphins and whales. And I remember being so enamored of sound because of dolphins and whales as well, and like whale song and all of that. So that kind of wove those in. I'm also a gigantic sci-fi and fantasy nerd. OMG. Completely and totally dorky nerdy. Yeah, right? So I finished my degree in biology and chemistry with a minor in French. I lived in France for a year, and I am a polyglot because I love the way that sounds. But that does not mean that I speak languages well. It just means that I can understand more than two languages. Holy crap, look at that. I am a husband, so I am married to Russell. He and I have been together for 15 years as of this week, which is freaking amazing. And we've been married for 4.5 going on 5. We are parents of 2 little black Hellion cats named Sebastian and Oliver. What else? I am an only child of 6, if that makes sense at all. If it doesn't, but it is, right? So my biological dad is South African, and so then my mom got married, had 3 kids, and then my biological dad got married and had 2 kids. So I'm the eldest of 6. So I have lots of siblings internationally, and I have parents, like you said, as well. We all do. Yes, so I am a son. I am a son. I am a massage therapist. I have been a massage therapist since 2002. I'm a yoga teacher, and I started my yoga teacher training in 2003. I'm a yoga therapist. I finished that just last year. Holy crap. What else am I?
Hilarious.
Why, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And brilliant.
Thank you very much. I actually wanted to go on to graduate school for biochemistry, for organic chemistry of some flavor. Yeah, and I didn't, and I'm kind of glad about that. But I knew I was going to get some sort of PhD, of some flavor. And so now that I have my yoga therapy, I'm considering my yoga therapy as kind of my PhD of yoga of sorts. Knowing, just like every other PhD out there, as soon as you get that degree, you realize you have no idea. Like you're a specialist in this very small arena of something that's so large. And then you're like, oh shit. So that actually just means, this degree just means that I've started. Ah, fuck. So yeah. There are, there are always facets to all of us, but yeah, I would say that right there is a good intro.
I love it. I love it. So since you're a specialist in an area this big, you have your yoga PhD, being a certified yoga therapist. That's amazing. It is no small feat. Tell us more about how you got into yoga and how you got into massage, and even if you want to, how you got into biochem and French.
Oh, all right. So we go back. I always had an affinity for science. I loved science in high school, and I loathed English, which is one of the weirdest things. I did not like any of what I would have considered the soft sciences, the languages, language arts, any of that. I was terrible in it, and I always scored really poorly in English proficiency in language, and I scored astronomically in science, in math, and all of that. Which is funny because they say if you score high in math, you'll score high in language. And I was like, yeah, but how does that make sense? And they're like, well, you'll understand language. Okay, whatever. Regardless, I had an idea that I needed to get away from my family. So I needed to go to a college that wasn't in the same city. And I needed to go on a full ride scholarship because I'm a first generation college graduate. So there was no way that we had even planned for any of us going to college. And so I got a scholarship based on academic prowess and specifically in science. And so I knew going into school that I was going to get a degree in biology because I loved nature and I loved the study of animals, of mammals, of all that. And I was a big dolphin fan, big dolphin like. So it's very funny that I'm such a big marine mammal fan, and I went to a school in the middle of Colorado that is a landlocked state. So unless I'm going to go to the reservoir and study little plush animal dolphins in the reservoir, there's no way for me to study marine mammals like dolphins and whales in a landlocked state. Weird. Anyway, so while I was in school, I realized that I couldn't take science all the time. And so every semester I had vocal performance, I had voice lessons, I had some sort of acting, and I had language. And then my second year of college, I didn't decide. My first year of college, a professor came out and said, hey, we'd love for foreign exchange students out to France. And I'm like, I've just taken 6 years of French. Why wouldn't I do that? And my grandparents, I remember asking, they were like, well, you live in Colorado. Why are you learning French? And my first response was, well, I'm gay. And gay men love their scarves, and they love to speak French, and they love to talk about wine and fancy food. And that's French. That's not necessarily Spanish. And at that point in time, speaking Spanish in Colorado was not a high on the priority for people because that's just not the way Colorado was. So I took French. And look, I spent a year living in the northeast of France in Alsace, which was awesome. And then I finished school. I got a job as an organic chemist in a chemistry laboratory for an energy company, and I hated every minute of it. I went to France for 3 weeks for a vacation and came back, and they had fired me for being a very inappropriate chemist and for validating my own work and going against all of the procedures that they had written because I thought those procedures were stupid. And those procedures didn't make any sense. They were written in a way to just propagate dumb work that I thought was stupid. And of course, I knew the rules. And if they had just asked me, they would have known that those rules were stupid. They didn't ask me. So instead, they just fired me. But in doing so, they'd already paid for my massage schooling. So I'd gone to massage school while I was still working as a chemist. And they'd paid for my beginning yoga teacher training. how did I get into yoga? While I was working as a chemist, I wanted to get fit, and I had already taken martial arts. So I'm a first degree black belt in Chinese Shaolin Kung Fu. And I got that when I was 12, which I thought was pretty awesome. And then we taught martial arts through most of my my high school years. My parents and I did. Um, and so I wanted to do something that was kind of like that. And so the story I told myself was my parents wanted me to be a martial artist because they wanted me to take care of myself because they knew that I was gay too. And so they're like, you can't do dance, don't do Broadway, don't do any of that stuff. Do martial arts because you'll be a little bit safer doing that. Whether that's their story or not, I don't know. That's what I've told myself about that so I can get it. And so my story was somebody was like, hey, we should go do yoga at the 24-hour fitness. And I'm like, okay, great. Because I'm already bendy, I'm super bendy as a guy. And I'm like, that's awesome. Let's go do that. And the yoga teacher was like, well, you should take the training that's coming in through YogaFit and you should become a yoga teacher yourself. And I'm like, okay, sure. Why not? Why not just add that to my list of certificates that I'm collecting? That sounds like a great idea. When it comes to the end of it, it's like, I've already got this stuff. Why don't I just add some more? And, the whole idea of I'm not enough, I've got to add some more certificates to make me feel like I need more. Yeah. And so when I started teaching and I was like, well, this brings in some stuff that I've done before that I really like. And I like people. And then when I got fired, I was like, well, then I'm going to have to figure this out. And so I worked retail because I can get a lot of retail jobs because of acting, because of all of that stuff. Right. But I still wanted, like, there was something about like being accountable, about being a contributing member to society, much like, I think you said. And I was like, well, maybe I should try this. Like, if I'm so fucking irritated at all the people that are running these other companies and how inefficient I feel they are, then maybe I should throw my hat in trying to run a business myself and try to be efficient at that. So at the time I was teaching fitness as well. And I became a coordinator at one of the clubs and was coordinating their yoga program, their fitness program, their weight program, their kickboxing program. And I was doing all of that stuff as well. And then I opened up my own studio and closed it really quickly, knowing that I had no idea what the hell I was doing. And then bought a healing house and became a landlord, and then brought all that stuff together into one little thing. And so that's that yoga bit. I got my, and I started teaching yoga teachers in the midst of all of that as well. And that's where I got my 500 hour. Not because I did the education, not because I actually paid for any of it, but because the company needed me to teach a program in their 500 hour, and they couldn't have me teach it if I didn't have my 500. So they gave me a certificate and said, hey, here's the certificate because you've got all of this past experience in education, and we need you to be an ERYT 500 for you to teach this anatomy program that you wrote.
Hilarious.
So that's how I became an E500 hour. Yeah.
So where did massage come in? What got you interested in massage or body work?
Oh gosh, I did gloss right past all that, didn't I? How weird. I worked for a grocery store for my first year of college, and I remember, I'm sacking groceries, and the checkers are all bitching about how their shoulders hurt, and so I'd go up and just give them little massages, and they're like, "You have really good hands," and I'm like, "Well, that sounds dirty, first off, and yeah, I guess I do, I guess I do." And then when I moved to Denver on my own after college, I went out to Disney, and I was a performer and a lifeguard out at Disney World in Florida for a while, for 4 months when I graduated. I came back and I was like, well, I've got to find a job somewhere, So that was when I started working the chemistry stuff. And my landlady's daughter was in massage school, and her name is Heidi, and I love this woman. And I love my landlady, Janet. She is just a gem of a woman. And they were like, you should check out this massage school because there's something to you that you need to be a body worker. And I'm like, oh, right, because I need to be a woo-woo, like fly by the seat of your pants, fucking head up in the sky, pot smoking, dorky massage therapist. What the fuck? Masseuse? No, I'm not gonna fucking do that. That's ridiculous. Sensing a trend? Are you sensing a theme in this story? And so then I interviewed with 3 massage schools, because of course I was like, sure, why not? Why don't I just accommodate everyone? And why don't I just, sure, you want a massage therapist? Great, I'll do that. God. And I interviewed one of the schools and they were like, yeah, we really see you as part of our student body. And I was like, no, you don't. You do. I do not. I am not doing that. Nope. And then I went to another school that was very, 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 very scientific. And I just finished 5 years of science that I was like, I'm done. I'm done with the sciences for now. I'm up to here. And I need something to kind of balance that. So I ended up going to a massage school that was a blend, that was a little bit of science, a little bit of field. And of course, I graduated with far too many certificates at the end, with fucking hot stone and sports massage and aromatherapy and reflexology and positional release and neuromuscular. And, you know, it was a 1 year long course. And I remember being very, very proud of myself for finishing it while I was still working full time and while I was building that business. And my thought was just like, you know, I just want some part-time money. And really at the time I was like, and I want to see naked men, a lot of naked men. You know, I was like, great, I get, and then come to find out you don't actually see naked at all. The only people you see naked are your classmates. And those are people that you don't want to see naked, right? The people that get naked are the ones that you're like, no, I don't really want to see you naked. No. And the ones you do want to see naked are quite modest, and they're like, I'm going to call the police on you for trying to see me naked. And then there was this whole thing called massage ethics that came in as well about not sexually assaulting your clients. Yeah, and I was like, oh, I got into that realm, did I? Okay, all right, that's the realm I'm in. And that's how the massage part got into it.
Cool.
And I had, because of the science, I had an affinity for anatomy. Anatomy just made sense to me, biomechanically, it just made sense. So yeah.
So biochemistry and French, yoga, massage. How did yoga therapy happen?
Another certificate, honestly, initially. Yeah, overachiever 101. And when I was a yoga teacher trainer, I specialized in anatomy, and I also specialized in my own way in aerial yoga and some other stuff that I had done. And I felt like there was some things that were kind of missing in my wheelhouse of yoga. But I was using Susie Haitley's anatomy book, her anatomy and asana book, when I taught anatomy to people. And the feedback I kept getting was that I made anatomy really, 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 really understandable for people, that I just had this ability to present the material in a way that was relevant, that wasn't textbook, that wasn't too didactic. Maybe that's the word. There's another word for it that I'm totally escaping me right now, but you know, I wasn't sitting up there and just lecturing about it. And when I read Susie's book, I was like, this makes so much sense to me. This is awesome. And I had a lot of people ask me about yoga therapy programs. And they were like, so who would you go with? And I was like, well, I wouldn't go with any of them. I really wouldn't, because it's kind of the same thing as the massage people, right? That I found yoga therapists to be woo-woo. I found them to be just not grounded in anything that they were doing. And it just seemed like you had said, it's one more fucking network marketing scam that I had no desire to be in. And then I sent 2 of my students through Susie's program, and they were like, hey, you know, you're right. This is an awesome program, and you would do well to do this. And, you know, it came down. If you were to ask the cohort that went with me, I was the last one. Hello, puppy. Like screaming and no, and like, I'm not going to do this. And I turned my application in at the 11th hour. I like scrambled, and I was like, okay, fine, I'll do this. Fine, I'll do this. Fine. And fast forward, you know, 4 years from that moment, and I'm like, holy shit, that's exactly why I did that. Because there was a lot of information to fill out. And for some reason, I wanted to be a specialist. I wanted to be a specialist in the field. And it feels like having that title, yoga therapist, is a specialist in the field. Little did I know at the time what that meant. Good God, right? It's like, what am I a fucking specialist in?
Yeah.
and yet I wanted that. That has been on my radar for a long time, is to study a lot. And I think that's probably what got us talking about this, was that there's always more to learn. There's always more to study. And I'm not really ever happy with a simple answer.
I think we're aware that life is more multidimensional.
Mm,
I think simplicity makes sense when simplicity makes sense, but it doesn't make sense when the reality is complexity, right? So when things are complicated, sometimes the reality is things are complicated.
yeah. And we just have to be okay in toggling between those two, and not always saying, well, this is the only way it could possibly be. This is the only way. Until, well, it can't be that way. Now this is the new way. Oh, well, it can't be that way either, because now it's the new way.
Yeah. So in all of that, tell me, dear Josh, how does all of this qualify you to be an inappropriate yoga teacher?
Go. I know, right? So I'm going to answer that indirectly, and then I'll get back to the actual story. Here's the tangent. My mom took comedy classes when I was in high school, and I used to go with her to learn the art of comedy, the very subtle art of comedy. And fast forward a number of years, it makes sense that what I do. And I remember teaching, and I always thought that a lot of the teachers that I had gone to bored the shit out of me, educationally, all sorts of things, because it just didn't seem like they were invested in it. And so what I always found was, like, I want people to leave my class when I'm teaching lighter than when they came in. So I need to make what I teach actually pertinent to the people that are in this space right now. And I remember a lot of clients, yoga students saying, we really miss, like, if I would leave it, like, we really miss the fact that you made class lighter. And even though you would teach deep philosophy points, it wasn't like we had to glom on. You were like, yeah, you can totally blow this off if you don't want to. But I know that at some point in time, this little bit's going to actually stick. And my family is very religious. So I was raised in a very, very religious background. And I also found that a little bit distasteful. And so I was like, I would really like it if people out there made their own decisions, instead of just assuming that what I say is the right thing just because I'm the teacher. No. So I'm going to let you decide. I would love for you to be able to come into this class and make a decision, because you're an adult. You're not a kid. And even when you were a kid, you could have still made a decision on your own to not do this or to do this. So do that, right? And I had to make all the mistakes as a beginning yoga teacher to say, this is exactly how you have to do this pose because the book tells you to do it this way. You must do it this way. And I'm right. You must do it this way until you mustn't do it this way anymore because now it doesn't work, right? So it's like, follow that set of rules until that set of rules doesn't work. So how am I qualified to be inappropriate? Well, I'm not vegetarian. I tried that also. That fucking sucked. I'm a very jaded human being sometimes, right? People are like, oh, you're so nice. I'm like, oh, watch it. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm very calculating. So that makes me terribly inappropriate as well. But I think what makes me inappropriate the most is like the ability to say that shit in front of people. And I've heard that more about anybody else, is like, well, how did honesty become inappropriate? Huh, that's weird. So I tend to use humor a lot as an inappropriate tool, that if you're going to come to a class with me, you're probably going to laugh. Because in some instances, it's more comfortable to laugh as a group of people than it is to cry. But it's the same general emotional response. So you might be laughing, but there's some context in it that makes you laugh because it's uncomfortable. And just so you know, I'm going to play on that. I'm going to calculate on that as well of what that means. Yeah. So watch out, because I'm sneaky. I'm a sneaky motherfucker. Right? And I think that's another inappropriate thing, is like, you learn these many tools, you can be super manipulative with them. There are a lot of tools we learn as yoga teachers. There are a lot of tools I learned in vocal coaching and in acting and in all of that stuff to be able to see and to be able to manipulate. And it's like, oh yeah, I could do that. And what's inappropriate is, and I want you to know that I could do that, so that you know when I'm doing that, so that you have the tools as well, right? And yeah, the idea of confessions of inappropriate yoga teachers just came from that. Because one, it's hysterical as shit, because you know that most yoga teachers out there are terribly inappropriate and are doing all they can to cover it up and be like, no, I'm good. No, I'm good. So at the end of the day, I guess, to answer that question, what qualifies me is because I don't have my shit together. I think that qualifies me perfectly to be an inappropriate yoga teacher and to be able to actually say, I don't have my shit together. Yay.
Yay.
Right.
That's awesome. Well, and it's interesting. I love that you talked about sort of bringing a lightness to the classes. I realized a while back that to have reverence and respect for the yoga teachings didn't mean I had to be serious all the time. Like, those are, being serious and having reverence are two different things.
Absolutely.
Because I would say that I am also a little bit of a cheeky monkey as a human being, and therefore as a yoga teacher, right? Like, it's not, it wouldn't be uncommon for me to crack a joke and then look around and be like, we're not going to laugh at that. Okay, then moving on, folks. Your next pose is, and it's going to be harder because you didn't laugh at my joke. Here we go.
If you're not fulfilling my needs to be an entertainer, then fuck y'all. Making me feel better, then get the hell out of my class, right? Yeah.
Or with the new students who are like, is she serious? Can I laugh at that? Was that a joke? And everyone else is like, oh, she's always serious, but she's also always joking. Like, so and it strikes me that it's enlightenment, not in seriousment or in heavyment, right?
Right, in heavyment, in seriousment. And I remember there were a lot of students who were like, why do you ask us to talk in class?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, one, because it's an interactive class. Two, because I might not be right. I might actually need you to say, no, that's not what I feel. And then we can start a conversation, and then we can both learn from that. That's fantastic, right? And they're like, well, I just want to show up to turn my brain off and have you just tell me what to do. And I'm like, aha, did you just hear what you said? Isn't that curious? Why are you coming to me to turn your brain off? Yeah.
There's a yoga teacher that I used to teach at her studio here in the community, and I believe her language around that was, or one of the things she would say, I guess, would be something to the effect of, yoga is not about tuning out, it's about tuning in. And this is one of the many misperceptions that people have about yoga, right? Like, I'm going to you to shut my brain off.
Right. No, you're not.
And it's like, no, but then why are you here for yoga then? Because yoga is all about expand awareness, self-realization, tune in to what's happening, not tune out from what's happening.
And be able to notice, hey, your mind's going 1,000 miles a minute. Trust me, so is mine. And I came to yoga initially to be like, quiet this shit, because this is driving me crazy. Great. And coming to find out that's actually part of the process, because I'm from the US, it's process. Mona's from Canada, it's process, right? That's what we do. So it's her process and it's my process. There you go. Although you say process a lot. I remember commenting on that. I was like, oh, a Canadian who said process? And then you're like, I say both. Oh, son of a bitch.
Because I spend a lot of time in the States. So sometimes I have to put on, like, I have to be like a pretend American.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I travel, I have to be a pretend Canadian. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of Americans do that.
That's why I know how to say process and a boot. Although the boot, I don't have it quite right, and I'm not really from that area, because none of the Calgarians would ever say a boot.
I don't know that anyone in Canada actually says that. I think Americans think Canadians say that, but I've never heard any of us say that. And every time somebody says, "Oh, a boot," I'm always like, "What are you talking about?" Like, nobody says that.
No, we usually say hey, and it's only from that particular region that says that. It's like, no, please don't generalize. Anyway, that was a good tangent.
It was a good tangent. Okay, so back to being an inappropriate yoga teacher. What are you hoping people are going to get from the podcast?
You know, this idea came to me a while ago because I thought about a book for it. And what I thought was like, there needs to be lightness and levity in the yoga community, because we're taking it in a holier and yogier than thou route. And so I really loved what you had said about that, of like, there is reverence, but reverence doesn't mean to be stodgy. Reverence doesn't mean heavy. Reverence doesn't mean like there's no joy in life. Yeah, and I personally would like to be laughing until the end of my life. Even though that particular topic is quite heavy for me, right? The end of life, that's a heavy topic for anybody. So my thought in Confessions was like, I would love for people to be able to come to a place where they can laugh, even in the midst of the shit show. You know, that there's going to be something that's really sad in life, and it's going to be tear-inducing, awesome, and like anything else, it will pass. And some instances we just need to have a break and just to laugh about it, and just to go, okay, there's the light in enlightenment. Like, I don't have to be super serious about this. It doesn't have to be scary. You know, I can actually take care of myself in that, and I love those. And then there can be fun in dysfunction. I love that we have that in that title of like, that part of that is just accepting that that's where we are. Yeah. And that in general, we're all inappropriate in one fashion or another. And so if we can just embrace that, perhaps, right, and use that as a tool instead of trying to get rid of it, that the purpose of podcasts is to leave it, yes, with a question of what am I going to do now to lighten my load, but also like, oh shit, there are other people out there that are going through the same thing. I'm not alone. I'm really not alone. And to go, no, oh my God, no. There are so many more people out there that are feeling the exact same things. And if we can spread a little bit of a light on that, you know, I did not come from a guru-directed program at all. I came from a program where every training that I took for my 200-hour was led by a different person with a different background. And it was for gym rats. You know, so my whole yoga teacher training had nothing to do with the philosophy of yoga, but more of the movement of yoga. And then when I started getting into more of my own study, I was like, oh, do you recognize that these are the commonalities in all of these branches of yoga or Buddhism or Christianity or Hindu or Islam or any of those? Here are the do good, be goods. And we would really just be nicer people if we could just pay attention to that. So yeah, that's kind of what my intention was with this, of like, let's get some people who have that like-minded stuff and talk about it and be like, it's not that fucking serious. It is, and it's not at the same time. And it seems like that's what we've done.
I love that, because it is serious and totally not at the exact same time. It's that whole human embodiment of duality. So you're a spirit and you're a human at the same time. Yep. And it's very serious, but it's also not at the exact same time.
Like, it's hysterical that all of us evacuate our bowels and our bladders every day, and then we're like, oh no, but we don't do that. Actually, you do. We all have the noises that come out of us as well. Everybody does it, right? And so it's like, oh, okay, that's pretty normal. And you know, come to find out that there's no such thing as normal. We've got this fantastic idea. So then, great. So if there's no appropriate yoga teachers, there were only inappropriate yoga teachers. Awesome.
I love it. That's gorgeous.
I thought you would, because it's just about us, right? It's really just about you and me having time to talk to one another.
because that's awesome. It really is. Okay, last question.
Last
The big
question.
one. Pressure's on, Joshua McGurk.
Pressure's on.
What else do you want people to know about you?
I thought about this of like the icebreaker question of like, what's one thing that no one knows about you? And I'm like, I've already told you pretty much that I'm a sci-fi dork and I'm wearing a kilt. I love kilts, and there you go. What is one thing? World peace, Stan. World peace. No. From Miss Congeniality, everybody. I will use movie quotes in uncomfortable situations to break the ice, to make everybody laugh. That's one thing everyone should know about me. I'm going to use humor in pretty much all circumstances to go, oh gosh, that's an uncomfortable place to be. I don't know. I really think that we've pretty much covered the gamut of it. Maybe it's like, I don't know. I don't have anything else to tell you guys. I'm boring. There it is.
Well, I don't know about that.
No, I don't think that's true at all.
No, I don't think that's true at all either. But it's hard to come up with like one more thing after you just talked about, like, after you have, like, you share about yourself and then people are like, one more thing. And you're like, I already gave you all the things.
Right. Like, didn't we sum it up in the previous 4? No? Okay.
So the woman who does the social media for my yoga school had this idea that she wanted all the teachers on our regular teaching roster to send her 3 things about themselves in a photo so she could do like a weekly teacher feature and everybody could like share something about themselves. And I saw her over the weekend because she broke into our teacher training to come over and say hi. She's hysterical. So she's like, I know you guys are doing teacher training, but hi, I'm here and I wanted to say hi. And I was like, hi. She goes, how come people can't come up with 3 things about themselves? And I was like, because it's hard, man, to only come up with 3 things. She goes, well, you did it. And I said, yeah. But the whole time I did it, I was like, should this be what I am saying? I don't know.
Right.
And then it was funny because we were talking about like, what are the things you share about yourself? So my 3 things, what did I say? I think I said that I have a brother. So I have 1 sibling, 1 biological sibling. I am a sci-fi nerd. My passport cover says I'm a member of the Jedi Order. And then I think the 3rd one, I don't even remember the 3rd one, but I remember one of the things I'd come up with was like, I won a gold medal in wrestling when I was in grade 8. Because who on earth would know that? But then what do you do with that? Like, it's just this random tidbit of information. But coming up with these things to share, it's like, I don't know. What does one say about oneself?
Well, so it's funny when you were talking about that, about the gold medal, right? One thing that I've always found really funny is that my parents trained me to kill people as a martial artist.
Because you were a martial artist.
So I was trained to kill people using sticks, using throwing stones, using knives. And I remember at one point in time, I had to test, it's so funny. I had to test with this Quan Dao. And the Quan Dao is like a gigantic blade that's serrated on one edge, that's sharp on the other, that's now a staff, and on the other end is a spike. And so this thing is twice the size of me, and I'm a little, 12-year-old kid winging this shit around the top of my head, and I'm so glad that it was not sharp at all. But I'm like, you're giving the power of life and death to a 12-year-old. And what I loved so much about martial arts, and my mom had asked us this, she goes, can you write out what are like the life's lessons that I taught you? Because she's like, I don't see that as a mother, and I would love to have that from your perspective. And I remember telling her, like, you taught me that a white belt goes for the kill and a black belt goes for humiliation, but will never go for the kill, because the black belt respects life enough to never go that far. And so I'm like, then why are you teaching me to use a chain whip? Why are you teaching me how to use all of these knives and things? And they're like, well, so that you can get out of a battle if you need, and here's what you could use as a last resort. And I've always found that very funny in my life of like, I was trained at a very early age to be a murderer. And then was taught like, but you never do it. Or you only do that as a very last resort.
So what we need people to know about you is you're a freaking ninja.
I'm a ninja.
You're a ninja. That's so cool.
Right? It's like, watch out, I will kill you. I will cut you 2 times. Mm-hmm.
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 See, whereas I'm pretty sure, because I've been trying to figure out which martial art do I want to study, right? Which martial art do I want to study? I've done some judo, I've done some karate, I've done some taekwondo, and I've always had a fascination with the martial arts. And I remember talking to one of the other teachers at the school once, and he was a retired base commander. So he was in the military. He was the former base commander of the base that we have here in Kingston. And we were chatting, and I was like, I wonder which martial art I should study. And he goes, why do you want to study a martial art? And I was like, so I could be a ninja. He goes, what the hell do you want to be a ninja for? And I was like, so I could like break into someone's house if I wanted to. He goes, what would you do with that? And I was like, leave presents? He goes, so you want to be Santa Claus and you think you need to take martial arts?
It's so funny. It's like, so I can break into somebody's house, and they're like, well, yeah, but when you train to be a ninja, you learn that you never would do that.
Yeah,
Because
well,
I also got this whole line of ethics about what you don't do.
and so it was this funniest thing for me to realize. I had this like mild obsession with being a ninja, so I could do anything I wanted. But what I really wanted to do was like leave people flowers, in which case I could just walk right up to them and be like, here's a rose.
I am a ninja of the highest order. Here's a flower.
Ninja of the highest order has always, it's like on my bucket list. And yet I'm not really sure it has much utility in my current daily living.
Doesn't matter.
And yet you're a ninja. And I love it. I love it. I'm so excited right now.
Right? So there we go. You have gotten it.
Ninja, ninja, ninja. Oh my God, that's so awesome. And I did not know that before today.
Oh, very cool. I bet you did. How funny.
Yeah, didn't know that. I love it. Are there any last things you would love to share with our studio audience?
You know, I'm going to say that there's much that I would like to share that's not coming to mind that will show up in all of our future recordings and our list of questions that we've made for ourselves. So in the interest of getting people to listen to more than just this intro, I'm going to say zip. I'm going to zip it right there. And scene.
And scene.
You guys, thank you so much for listening. It really was great to have you. And please feel free to send us any questions or comments that you had on this particular topic, or really any topic that comes to mind.
If you want to connect with us, you can connect with us at our website. So you can find Josh at jlmtherapeutics.com. He's got to contact us. And so contact Josh. If you want to contact me, I'm at janatiyoga.com. And if you email anything on that website, it all comes to my inbox. So that's how you can get a hold of the two of us. And on each of our websites, you'll find I almost did it, ampersand, CIYT. No, it's a hashtag, Mona. It's a hashtag. You will find more information about Confessions of Inappropriate Yoga Teachers on both of our websites at hashtag CIYT.
Awesome. So if you'd like to support us, we've got a couple of ways to do that. You can either go to Patreon and be a paying supporter for us, which is awesome. And you can also give us feedback at any time. You can head on to social media and talk about us and just help us build the community. And that is worth its weight in gold as well. So we love to be able to bring this to you. And those are the ways that we can. So again, thanks for listening to Confessions of Inappropriate Yoga Teachers, hashtag CIYT. And until next time, everybody.
Be inappropriate.
Yes,
Very
indeed.
inappropriate.
Very inappropriate.
Very inappropriate.